Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going deep diving into TikTok and its future. Well, its future here in the U.S. at least.
Right.
And as you all probably already know, things aren't looking too good.
Yeah, January 19th, that's the deadline.
Yeah, January 19th.
Either they sell off their U.S. operations or
Or it's bye-bye TikTok.
the total ban. Yeah.
Imagine like 170 million American users.
Gone. Just like that.
Poof.
No more viral dances, no more...
What are we going to do without those oddly satisfying cooking videos?
I know, right?
It's a wild story, and to try to make sense of it all, we're looking at this YouTube video from First Post.
Okay.
TikTok ban looms. Can Musk or Mr. Beast step in?
Catchy title.
Right.
It is, yeah. Well, it's not just about disappearing dance trends, though.
Okay.
There's a lot more to unpack here. Like, why is the U.S. government so concerned in the first place? What would a sale even look like?
Right.
And get this. Some users are already jumping ship, looking for alternatives.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
What?
It's a story about tech, sure, but also about security, national security.
Yeah.
And get this, another Chinese app could just slide right into TikTok's place.
Whoa. Okay, so let's back up for a sec.
Sure.
Why is the U.S. government so worried about TikTok? I vaguely remember something about data security, but what's the real issue here?
Well, the main thing is who owns all that data, right? TikTok is owned by ByteDance.
Right, a Chinese company?
Exactly, and that's setting off alarm bells in Washington.
Okay.
They're worried, like really worried, that the Chinese government could get its hands on all that user data.
So it's not just about silly dances and funny cat videos. There's something more serious going on here.
Way more serious. We're talking potential national security risks here. Like,
Yeah.
what if that data is used against U.S. interests?
I see.
So the U.S. basically gave TikTok an ultimatum.
Sell or be banned.
Exactly.
Right.
Initially, TikTok seemed ready to take the ban, but now, with the deadline looming, things are getting interesting.
Okay.
There are rumors, whispers really, that TikTok might be reconsidering.
Reconsidering selling.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking huge sums of money here.
And that's where Elon Musk enters the picture.
You got it.
He loves shaking things up, especially in the tech world. I mean, first Twitter, now maybe TikTok.
Well, that's the speculation, right? Musk is known for buying up social media platforms, and now everyone is buzzing about him potentially buying TikTok and merging it with X, the former Twitter.
Right.
They're saying the price tag could be around $50 billion for TikTok's U.S. operations.
50 billion.
That's what they're saying.
Wow. That's a crazy amount of money. Even for someone like Elon Musk.
It is, yeah.
Do you think he'd actually shell out that much, especially after everything that happened with Twitter, with the rebrand to X?
It's a gamble, for sure. But Musk has never been afraid of taking risks, especially when he sees a chance to, disrupt things.
Right.
And combining TikTok's massive reach with all the stuff X can do. Well, it could be huge. But, the big question is, would users actually go for it? Would they embrace it? Or would it be like too much power for one person?
That's a good point. And didn't TikTok deny those reports about selling to Musk? Called them pure fiction. Right.
They did, yeah.
So who knows what's really going on?
Exactly. It's anyone's guess at this point.
The whole thing is so unpredictable.
Totally.
And then you have Mr. Beast, the YouTuber, throwing his hat in the ring.
Right, with his 340 million subscribers.
He jokingly offered to buy TikTok.
He did, yeah. I mean, it was probably just for laughs, right?
Yeah.
But still, it just shows how massive TikTok has become. Like, if a YouTuber thinks they can just step in and buy it.
That's wild.
It's a statement, for sure.
It really is. Okay, but let's talk about the people who actually use TikTok, like every day.
Right.
The creators, the people who've built their careers on the platform. What happens to them if TikTok just vanishes?
That's the big question, isn't it? You have a whole generation of creators facing a very uncertain future. Many are scrambling, trying to find new platforms.
Kind of like refugees, almost?
Yeah, some are calling them TikTok refugees.
TikTok refugees. Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is, and it shows just how disruptive this whole thing could be.
Yeah.
And it's not just the creators, right? Think about all the users, the millions, who use TikTok every day for entertainment, to connect with people, to get information.
What happens to them?
Where do they go? What do they use? Big questions.
So TikTok itself is trying to, steer people towards its sister app, Lemonade.
Yeah, they are.
But I've been hearing about this other platform gaining traction, especially among, those worried about the ban.
Yeah.
It's called Red.
Red, huh?
Yeah. Can you tell me more about that? What is it? Why are people so interested in it all of a sudden?
Well, Red. This is where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me everything.
Right. So Red,
Mm-hmm.
Red, It's another Chinese app.
Right, so that seems kind of ironic, doesn't it? I mean, given all the concerns about TikTok and data security and all that,
Yeah.
it does, yeah. Why would people flock to another app that might, raise the same red flags?
Well, Red, or Xiaohongshu as it's known in China, it's attracting American users for a few reasons, actually.
Right.
For one, it's got this unique mix of features. It's like Instagram for the looks, Reddit for discussions, and Pinterest for all that shopping stuff all in one.
It's like a one-stop shop for everything online.
Pretty much, yeah. You
Yeah.
can share photos, go live, make shopping guides. You can even buy stuff right there in the app.
Wow, no wonder people are interested.
Uh,
But doesn't that, raise even more concerns about data privacy? If Red is collecting info on everything we do, from our chats to our shopping habits, where is all that data going?
That's a really good point, and it goes to show how trust is kind of eroding in this digital age, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, you have the U.S. government freaking out about Chinese companies misusing data.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other, you have companies like TikTok and Red saying, hey, your data is safe with us, don't worry, so who do you believe?
Right, that's a tough one.
Yeah. It really makes you think about the apps we use and the info we just hand over.
This whole thing makes you wonder, how much do we really know about what happens to our data when we use these apps? Are we just blindly trusting these big tech companies with our info?
Yeah, that's the core of the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's almost impossible for the average person to know what data is collected, how it's used, who sees it.
Right.
And this isn't just a Chinese app thing, it's a problem across the entire tech industry.
So what can we do about it? I mean, are we just supposed to trust these tech giants? Or is there a way to take back some control?
Well, first off, we need to be more aware of what we're sharing.
Sure.
Right? Read those privacy policies, think twice about the permissions we give apps, be more careful about our digital footprint. We have to be proactive, not just passively accepting whatever they throw at us.
Yeah, it's easy to just click agree without thinking about it.
Totally. But we have to be more conscious of the choices we make online.
That makes sense. So beyond what we can do ourselves, what about, regulations?
Oh, absolutely. We need stronger rules, better oversight from the government,
Mm-hmm.
clear guidelines, real enforcement, and countries need to work together on this, to ensure data security and privacy in this crazy interconnected world we live in.
So we need, a global approach to this whole digital governance thing.
Exactly. It can't just be each country doing its own thing. Data doesn't care about borders, and these tech companies operate globally.
Okay, so we've talked about the U.S. side of things, the worries about China, the whole Red thing, the need for more awareness and better rules. But what about China's perspective on all this?
Right. It's important to remember that there's another side to this story.
Mhm.
China has its own narrative, shaped by its politics, its culture, its ambitions. While the U.S. is worried about Chinese influence, China is busy promoting its own tech giants.
Right.
They're building their own digital infrastructure, what they call the Great Firewall of China.
Great firewall. That sounds a little intense.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it's a sophisticated system to control what people in China can see and do online.
Like censorship?
Kind of, yeah. It blocks access to certain websites and services. The Chinese government uses it to control the flow of information and shape the online experience for its citizens.
So it's almost like two different internets are developing.
In a way, yeah. You have the U.S. and its allies worried about data security and Chinese influence, and then you have China building its own separate digital ecosystem with its own rules.
That's crazy. So while the U.S. is talking about banning TikTok, China has already banned a bunch of Western apps like Facebook, Twitter, Google, right?
Exactly, and that creates this fragmented digital world where your online experience depends on where you are.
It's like the opposite of what the internet is supposed to be.
It is, right. It's supposed to connect us, but it's being used to divide us.
Hmm.
And as these tech rivalries heat up, the internet is becoming less of a unified space and more fractured along these geopolitical lines.
That's scary. And it affects everything, right? From how we do business to our freedom to speak our minds and access information.
Yeah, it does, yeah. So the big question is, how do we bridge these divides? Can we even find common ground when countries have such different views on technology and data?
It seems impossible.
It's a huge challenge, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's impossible. We have to start by admitting that these issues are complex. There's no easy answer, no quick fix. But that doesn't mean we give up on finding ways to cooperate.
So where do we go from here? How do we navigate this crazy, complex, divided digital world? It feels like we're at this crossroads.
Yeah, it does.
on one hand, we have all this potential, right?
Hmm.
Tech can connect us. It can help us learn and share. It drives innovation.
Hmm.
But then we also see how it can be used to like control, to censor, even to manipulate people.
It's true, yeah.
So how do we move forward? What's the right path?
I think it's about balance, finding a balance between national interests, security and all that, and global cooperation. We have to admit that countries are always going to have their own worries, their own priorities,
Mhm.
but we can't just ignore the fact that these problems, they can't be solved alone.
Okay.
The internet, by its very nature, is global. Trying to break it up into separate pieces, it just creates more distrust, more division.
So how do we actually do that? Find that balance?
Well, it starts with talking, having honest conversations.
Right.
Governments, tech companies, regular users, everyone needs to be part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We need clear rules about data, about privacy,
Right.
but those rules have to be made together with input from everyone.
That sounds really hard. I mean, getting governments and these giant tech companies to agree on anything, it seems almost impossible.
It won't be easy, no,
Yeah.
but it has to happen. We can't just give up and say it's too difficult. The
Right.
stakes are way too high. We're talking about the future of the internet here, how we
Yeah.
talk to each other, share information, do business, everything.
If we don't work together, I mean, what happens?
We risk creating this fragmented internet, an insecure internet, and in the end, a less innovative one.
That's kind of a bleak picture.
It is, yeah. And what about us? What about the everyday users? Are we just like pawns in this giant game?
Yeah. Can we actually do anything? Or is it all up to the governments and the big tech companies?
I think users have a huge role to play, maybe bigger than ever before.
Really?
Yeah, we need to be informed. We need to understand how these technologies work, how they affect our lives.
Mm.
And we have to speak up. We can demand more transparency from these companies, support those fighting for digital rights,
And,
hold our leaders accountable, make sure they're creating policies that actually protect us.
so it's not just about using these apps. It's about being active in shaping the future of the digital world.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It's
Mhm.
our choice how we use it, but that means understanding its power and the responsibility that comes with it.
Like with TikTok, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just the government. It was users asking questions, raising concerns about data privacy, about censorship, about the influence these apps have on us.
Exactly. That awareness is crucial. So to bring it back to TikTok, what do you think will happen? Will it survive the ban?
What's your prediction?
Honestly, it's really hard to say. Things are changing so fast.
Yeah.
But whatever happens to TikTok, I think this whole thing has been a wake-up call.
For all of us.
Yeah. It shows us that the digital world isn't separate from the real world.
Right.
It's intertwined with our lives, and it will continue to shape our future in ways we can't even imagine.
So as we wrap up here, what's the big takeaway?
Uh-huh.
What should our listeners remember after diving into this world of TikTok, tech wars, and this new Red app?
Stay curious, stay informed, stay engaged. The digital landscape is always changing. It's up to us to understand it, to weigh the risks and the rewards, and to make sure technology serves us, not the other way around.
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for joining us today. It's been an eye-opening conversation.
My pleasure. And remember, this conversation doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.